Bill Roberts is Field Chief Technology Officer for Federal Services for Riverbed. It's great to see you, Bill. Before we turn the cameras on, you were talking about the fact that you consider yourself on a soapbox, still having to tell government people about the importance of trusting data to make decisions 10 or 15 years into the data-based decision-making process. Yeah. Why do you think that's still the case?
So I think it's a mind shift that still needs to occur, that the truth is there, it's in the data, and if you are collecting the right data, if, you know, a perfect example is the Navy's world-class alignment metrics, right? They went through a very long process of tying what they are collecting to their mission objectives, right? And because of that, they now know that this is what they need to measure, and because they're measuring that and it flows up and goes into one of those top 5 mission objectives, that is what they need to focus on, and they need to trust that data and they need to move forward with it. And they've made huge strides by doing that, right? And I think part of it comes from a belief that we know ourselves better than anything that's measuring us does. And I think that sometimes those preconceived notions need to be challenged a little bit.
When somebody comes to you and about that model that you just described and says, I want that, what do they usually not have that prevents them from getting to that? Or what steps do they usually need to take to get to that?
So the number one challenge that most of them have is upper level support. Right? The reason why Navy was successful with world-class alignment metrics was that Admiral Small was 100% behind it and drove it through, right? So if you don't have that top-level support for it, you're not going to be able to implement the mind shift in all of the divisions or organizations within that to support that as an overarching framework. So number one, you've got to have top-level support for it. And then number two, you've got to do the work of first deciding what are those top level things that are most important, and get agreement on that first. And once you've gotten that, which is no small effort in of itself, then the whole mapping exercise of understanding what are the metrics, what are the consolidated metrics that support each one of those top level things, that is the process to follow. Once you have that map, once you've got that framework built, then you can start to worry about, how do I get the tooling? How do I get the right instrumentation? How do I get the right consolidation of that data and interpretation of that and visualization of that data? And I think part of the challenge is people want to jump to the answer, and they want to go find that new BI tool, that new visualization tool that's going to solve all their problems without having had that framework built first, without having that alignment between what you're measuring it and why you're measuring it, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like the conundrum that these organizations have been in for the 20 years that I've been following them, probably a long time before that, which is there are solutions that are cool and interesting, and the fundamentals are not nearly as cool and interesting, but are a lot more important, it sounds like. Right. Is that a fair read on my part?
I think it is. I think it is. I think also, you know, it's not just the cool and interesting, it's the belief that there is magic out there, and if we just all to stir it all together, that the magic is going to come out and it's going to make sense out of this data that we've been trying to work with for so long, right? But if the framework is there, if that alignment isn't there first, it really doesn't matter what tooling. And this is coming from a guy who works for a company that makes telemetry tools, right? So I think that you've got to have the understanding first before you go try to measure it, before you start trying to collect it and visualize it. If you don't have that alignment, you'll never get there.
So one of talk about fundamentals from maybe a different angle.
Sure.
Regarding data fundamentals, data quality, data alignment. Are you seeing that improving across the various components of the building that you're working with?
I do. I see that there is an understanding, and it's a slow burgeoning understanding, that sampling is only just so effective, that you need to look at full fidelity data, and that you need to have a way to take that full fidelity data, this massive amount of data, and you need to reduce the noise out of it, right? And so being able to apply anomaly engines that are looking at that large mass amount of data and events and alerts that are coming up and reduce that down into what's important for you, the automation and the AI that can do that for you, trusting that process, I think, is kind of the next evolution, right? That, sampling only does so much for you, because you're going to miss some very important things if you are going for that sampling approach. But the other challenge is, if you go full fidelity, how do you have the ability to process all of that, right?